The F1 sprint race at the USA Grand Prix in Austin, Texas took place today, as well as the qualifying for the main race tomorrow. We're here to go over all of the big highlights. I did live reactions to both of these sessions on my channel, so if you want to see full reactions to both sessions, go to the live tab. We're going to get started right away with the sprint race. Started off with Max in pole position, of course, and Lando down in fourth place. Right into turn one, Max got a great jump. George in second place got a really bad jump and blocked both of the Ferraris going around turn one, while Lando came through and passed both of them, going up into P2 and dropping Russell down to P3. The Ferraris were constantly fighting to start off the race. They kept switching back and forth, and eventually Sainz did enough to get through and stayed ahead for the remainder of the race and put a pretty decent, not a good gap on, but he got out of Leclerc's DRS relatively easily. Both of the Mercedes are really struggling. George ended up slipping throughout the race, starting in P2 and ended up all the way down in P5, just ahead of Hamilton, who almost caught him towards the end of the race and was about 5-6 seconds back behind. And with only a couple laps left, was closing that down and almost had enough to come back and pass George towards the end. But with only 19 laps, there wasn't really that much time to do any of that. Towards the early middle of the race, like maybe laps 7, 8, 9, 10, around that time, around halfway maybe, Lando was cutting down what was about a 2-second gap to Max to close to 1.2. And at that point, McLaren was coming on the radio telling Lando how Max was burning out his rear tires already, and he was, doing too much in the S's, and he was gonna have his rear tire wear be bad, just yapping and coping. And right after that came out, and Lando started to lower the gap a little bit. Immediately, Max started to put more of a gap on. Ended up being about a 2-second gap before the final lap on lap 19. Both Ferraris and Lando Norris were fighting at this point, and into turn one, Lando made a late move to defend against them on the inside and ended up locking up a little bit around the hill of turn one. Sainz came through, and Leclerc almost followed him through on the inside, but didn't have enough to get in front of Lando before the S's. Sainz got enough of a gap at that point where Lando couldn't really mount an attack on that last lap, and Leclerc was more of a threat behind, but still a little bit too much of a gap. Just the way that their momentum was out of that first turn. Sainz got a really good exit and went right past Norris, but obviously because Norris locked up and had to then kind of defend, Leclerc couldn't get past him as well, so he had to back off a bit. And kind of because of that, didn't have a chance to come back through. But at this point, it was the last lap, of course. Max came through 3 seconds ahead, claiming fastest lap on his final lap, as well as getting those points ahead of Lando Norris, who finished in third. Your final finishing grid for the sprint was Max Verstappen in first place, Sainz in second, Lando Norris third, Charles Leclerc in fourth, Russell fifth, Hamilton sixth, K-Mag finishing all the way up in seventh, Hulkenberg in eight, both Haas in the points. Perez had a decent race, but didn't have enough to get back up into the points, finishing in ninth. Piastri also had a good race starting in 16th, but again, just wasn't enough. And he also got a 5-second penalty as well for forcing off Pierre Gasly into one of the turns towards the middle of the race. There was a couple of those things, kind of guys getting forced off on overtakes throughout the race. I forget what the other one was. I think one of the Ferraris overtaking George Russell, I believe at one point, kind of pushed him off as well, but they didn't get a penalty, and then Oscar Piastri ended up getting one. So I think they both deserved it. But other than that, just a lot of battling in the midfield, mostly around Yuki and Oscar just kind of working his way through. Other main stories, just both the Haas finishing in the top eight. Sorry, final grid here. Your top 10 through 20. Piastri, Sonoda, Colapinto in 12th, Stroll in 13th, Gasly, Ocon back to back 14 and 15. Lawson down in 16th ahead of Albon 17. Oh, Alonso down in 18, unfortunately. Guan Yu Zhou somehow gets ahead of Bottas in 19th, and obviously Valtteri got 20th in last. It's going to be both the Saubers in last just for probably the rest of the season, so just get used to it. But anyway, right on to qualifying. Very uneventful compared to the sprint race. I'm not going to lie, not really a whole lot to go over, but we're going to go over what there was. Q1, Max took pole, provisional pole in Q1 pretty easily. Lawson was showing what he got. He had pretty good pace there. Got P3 in Q1, so that was really good. And the main story of Q1, Lewis, Mr. Washington, got his time deleted and ended up all the way down in P19, while Russell got P4 in that first Q1 session. He's been crying about the car all weekend. I've been talking about it. He's just been bitching about it all weekend, while Russell has had pretty good runs all the way through. So Lewis goes out in Q1 in P19. He's going to start from the back tomorrow. Um, and his teammate's going to join him, and we'll talk about that later. But he's going to end up joining him in the back of the grid there. Other than that, in Q1, Sonoda also got his time deleted, same spot as Hamilton around turn 12, and both McLarens, they were in 10th and 12th, so they kind of struggled in that first session, but they ended up coming back. Q2, not really much to talk about. Lando set a good lap and didn't have to go out again, so he saved a spare for Q3. Max used an extra set and got P1 in Q2. The Q2 elims were Sonoda, Hulk, Ocon, Stroll, and Lawson, who didn't even set a lap. Lawson was just being used in Q2 to set up a tow for Sonoda because obviously Lawson has a grid penalty because Ricardo, I think, took a new engine last week or something. I don't know why. They said it was from Ricardo. I don't really know how that makes sense. But anyway, Lawson's going to be starting in the very back of the grid, and not much in Q2. So Q3, it was about to get exciting. Norris set provisional pole in his first run. Very good time. Max was about 2 to 3 tenths off, whatever it is here, I guess. Or not even that much off. 300ths off. He was 300ths off on his first run, and while they were on their final lap, everyone was going out for their final runs with about a minute left. Osama bin Russell, Allah Akbars it right into the wall and ends the session and gives us just the biggest buzzkill imaginable at that point. The whole session was honestly pretty boring, and it was building up to that last lap because we knew it was all going to come down to that. The track was speeding up quite a bit, and up to that point in Max and Lando's lap, Max had a personal best sector one and a session best sector one, and it looked like he was going to set the pole position lap. Lando, on the other hand, had not a personal best sector one and was about 300th off his time, so he was not looking like he was going to improve his time, at least at that point, unless he made it up later in the lap. And before Verstappen even got through sector two, there was already a yellow flag, and that was it. So, absolute buzzkill. The only nice thing is that the top 10 is pretty mixed up. So your final grid for the race tomorrow is going to be Lando Norris in first, followed by Max Verstappen in second. So at least they're 1 and 2. I honestly think that Max is going to end up getting by him probably into turn one. Uh, with cold brakes and cold tires going into that turn one, it's really hard to defend properly. And I don't know. I think they're either going to crash or Max is going to get by. So Norris, Verstappen in second, Sainz in third, Leclerc in fourth, both Ferraris, Oscar Piastri in fifth. He finally recovered. He had a couple rough sessions this weekend, but he recovered to get up into fifth. George Russell in sixth. He is going to have to probably take start from the pits because they're going to have to repair his car, obviously. So he's not going to be in sixth. So or just we'll say Pierre Gasly in sixth, Alonso in seventh, Magnus in eighth, Perez 9, Sonoda 10, Hulkenberg 11, Ocon 12, Stroll 13, Lawson 14. He's also going to be in the back of the grid, so he's actually not going to be 14. Albon 14, Colapinto 15, Bottas 16. Uh, Hamilton should be 17, but he also might take a grid drop because he's already so far back. He might replace like his engine eater or something. So I don't really know what the ending last couple spots here are going to be. Joe's probably going to be second or third to last because there are going to be a couple people up here that are going to be moving back. Russell's going to have to go probably start from the pit, and obviously Lawson's going to start in the back of the grid as well. So yeah, kind of uneventful. The sprint race is pretty fun, to be honest. I'm liking the sprint format more and more. The practice sessions are nice, but really the practice sessions are just best for info for the team. It's not really best for your viewing because they kind of just there's nothing on the line, so it's not that like high stakes or anything like that. So the sprint race is good. Qualifying was very boring. It was all leading up to that last lap, and of course George Russell fucking bins it and joins his teammate at the back of the grid for tomorrow's race. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Do you think Lando will hold the lead coming in out of turn one? Because that's been the main overtaking spot all weekend, and it's like practically a fucking roller coaster too. So let me know what you think. I'll be back after the race with a recap. And yeah, peace.